Hey out there, legal warriors. I've been waiting a long time to make this video. This is a video I've always wanted to make. It's a video about false beliefs and how to overcome them. I still do this job after 20 plus years as a defense attorney to try to help people feel better, right? We also fix the cases, stuff like that. But in this video, I'm going to cover the 5 most common false beliefs that I see my clients carry and what we can do to help someone get over that. So you'll probably find this useful whether or not you're charged with a crime. If you're interested in sort of how we think and how to think better, if you're interested in the criminal law, stay tuned because this is a video for you. My law firm's been defending people charged with crimes all throughout Washington State for more than 20 years. So if you find this video helpful, please like and please subscribe. More people will get the help they need, and I really appreciate it. I want as many people as I can to see this. So what is a false belief? The way I think about a false belief is it's something that we believe that's detrimental to ourselves that actually isn't so. And there's lots of things. We all have different types of false beliefs growing up. A common one would be, I'm not good enough. Well, yeah, you probably are good enough. Another one might be, more practical. I'll never be able to lose weight. Well, you might have felt that way, but you've probably lost some weight in your life. And so when we get activated, when things are really, we're feeling negative or think something bad happens, all these false beliefs get stacked up, and then it just makes our life miserable. And so I want to cover some of the most common false beliefs that my clients, I see them have, and we're always supposed to put a number of this, so let's just pick 5. Let's pick 5 false beliefs that I see my clients carry in criminal cases and what can be done to overcome them. And I think the number one false belief I see, and we have it on our website for a reason, stuff like that, is 1, my life is ruined because I'm charged with a crime. And that makes sense that someone might feel that way, right? One of the worst things that could happen, that is not a physical illness or a death or something like that, it is probably being charged with a crime, because there's a lot of collateral consequences that could happen, right? In life, because we're charged with a crime, our freedom could be taken away. And so it feels like our life is over, right? It feels like there's no end in sight. It feels like it's all or nothing. And those are, normal survival type responses, fight or flight, right? But happily in experience, those things aren't really so. That's really a false belief that your life is ruined. And so how do we deal with that, right? Well, one of the first things we can do to deal with that is have a positive vision of an outcome. Hey, I believe that my case is going to get dismissed. I believe that my life is going to be just fine. I believe I'm going to learn from this. And plenty of research has shown that positive visualization will help begin to push back against that negative thinking, right? And so that's one good thing that we can do. A second thing we could do is we could talk to other people that have been through this, right? You probably know someone who's been through a crime. You can talk to your attorney. They've represented thousands of people probably. And there's plenty of evidence out there that people charged with the crime, their life isn't over, their life isn't ruined, right? We can think about all types of celebrities. We can think about, people that we know. So you're probably not different, right? If you're going to make good decisions from here on out, if you're going to get good help, you're probably also going to have a very, very good life that goes forward. I think a third thing to do to overcome that is to, look at some good books on things that just help about how we think. I recommend the 4 Agreements. I recommend The Obstacle is the Way. I just got done reading the Rumi Prescription. So there's a lot of stuff out there to help us stay positive and keep life in perspective, right? I'm never going to quit learning about that, and I urge anyone who's having a hard time in life or who is charged with a crime to also, take advantage of the opportunity to find another way to think about things. So I think the next thing that I often see my clients carry with them is a false belief that I'm going to lose my job, right? Hey, I'm charged with a crime. I'm going to lose my job. And I represent thousands upon thousands of people, and it's very rare I see someone lose their job from being charged with a crime, especially if they get a decent outcome in the case. And there's some exceptions, right? A major felony that puts someone in prison, well, they're in prison, they can't lose their job, but that's a very rare case, right? Certain people on types of work visas, we have to be very careful. If you are a professional truck driver and you get a DUI and your commercial driver's license gets invalidated for a while, well, that could cost you a job. But for the most part, that's not the case. And why don't people lose their jobs? Well, most of the time, number one, the employer never finds out. No one's calling them up from the court, stuff like that. Number two, the employer probably doesn't care, right? Because you're probably a good employee. It was hard to find you, right? And so, between them not knowing about it and then number two, them not really caring about it, it feels like we might lose our job. But, looking at things, looking at other people that have been charged with a crime, talking to your attorney, it's probably not the case. You're going to need to take some smart steps, but it's typically a false belief. I think the third thing that I see many people worry about and carry with them is everybody's going to find out I'm charged with a crime, right? Everybody's going to know that I was charged with this crime. And that is absolutely a false belief. Now, if you live in a small town, they might find out. Who is they? Well, the press. So how do things get publicized? Well, it's not usually someone calling the press, right? Your cases aren't that exciting. It's usually someone from the press, a newspaper or somewhere else, checking the daily arrest logs and sitting there reading some reports, right? And unless you have a very unusual case, right, a very serious, salacious case, it's probably just standard stuff that no one's that interested in because it's so standard, right? If you have someone who's out to get you, right, they could put it up on Facebook or something, but for the most part, from doing this for more than 20 years, I could count on one hand the number of times I've seen a case that I've dealt with, and I've dealt with some big ones, be publicized, and usually that publicity goes away after the first court date. So it's my guess that not everyone's going to find out. And how do you get over that belief? Well, just look around, right? Do you see a bunch of articles about a routine theft at the Linwood Macy's or the DUI at 2 a.m., in Bellevue? You don't see articles about things like that because they're just too common. No one cares. No one would read it. So probably not everybody is going to find out. If I were to slip into the fourth thing that I often see people go through is something along the lines of, I'm a terrible person because I was charged with a crime. I'm terrible, right? How could I do this? I am the lowest form of life, right? And not everyone feels that way, but a lot of people do. And that's often due to what I call the punitive parent voice, that parent who wanted to do their best, but the sky was always falling, right? And now whatever negative things we might have been feeling or thinking that got us into the crime situation, that we are thinking that we are just terrible, even more so because all that was already confirmed, right? I knew I was no good and now I was caught stealing, so I'm even worse. Well, those are sort of signs of, wrong thinking mentally, right? We all have good in us, and you are likely a good person also. So how do we overcome that type of situation? Well, I often suggest, you probably have some friends, right? You probably have some friends that don't think you're terrible, and they're not going to think you're terrible because you're charged with a crime. You might have a pet, right? I always ask if people have dogs, right? The dog will always love us, right? You lock your best friend and your dog in the trunk for 6 hours. When you open the trunk, which one's happy to see you? Well, the dog. Don't do that. But as an example, you have to go get people who can see you accurately and reflect your goodness and your positive features accurately so you can begin to take that in, right? And all the other stuff about the self-help books, the counseling and the therapy, that all also applies. But that is a false belief that just because you're charged with a crime, you're a terrible person. I don't represent terrible people, right? I represent a person who is a normal person who had potentially a bad day, a bad morning, and the government didn't like it, so they accuse them of a crime. And they might not even have done something wrong at all, right? And there's usually grades of things too, right? There's two sides to each story. So please get over the idea that you're a terrible person because you're charged with a crime. And then the fifth thing, I think, that is a false belief that my clients often carry is that the situation is hopeless, right? It's a little bit different. It's hopeless, that they don't know what to do, right? and there's no way to figure out what to do, and I'm just going to ignore it and do nothing. Well, guess what? It's not hopeless. That is a total false belief. So many times, cases will result in dismissals if you do the right stuff. They'll result in minor penalties if you do the right stuff. There are things that you can do when you get the right attorney going forward that will not only help the case but help your life. And so the situation is not hopeless. You've seen my other videos probably. What happened usually doesn't even matter that much. It's what we do after the fact that matters. So the false belief is that the situation is hopeless, right? And if we believe that as attorneys, the situation would be hopeless. Again, it goes back to that positive visualization. When people come to our office with all types of crazy stuff, you wouldn't believe, the things that happen in life, right? If we thought the situation with hope was hopeless, or that was an accurate belief, then it would be, right? But it's what we choose to believe is possible is what makes it possible. I mean, that's literally how it works, okay? So that last false belief, it's hopeless. No, it's not, right? No matter how dark it looks, it is not hopeless. And if you have an attorney who tells you it's hopeless, get a new attorney. Well, I've covered some of the most common false beliefs. Hopefully you found that useful. If so, please like and please subscribe. And if you're in a situation where you have a crime, you need some help, you're just feeling bad, and you need some help, feel free to give our office a call. Again, I'm Lance Fryrear. My law firm's been defending people charged with crimes for more than 20 years. We'll always do our best to listen to what happened, identify a way forward, and do what we can. And usually that's a lot, to be there for you. Thank you.